And I do really like Miracle as a film overall, and appropriate to what the rest of this show is ultimately going to be, because bringing Megan into this conversation, she just hosted a new Women in Session that dropped earlier this week, where they talked about their favorite live action Disney movies. Guess what Miracle is?
Yes.
It's a live action Disney movie.
We talked about this offline just a few moments ago, JD. I often forget that Miracle is actually a Walt Disney movie.
Yes. And it has a bit of that Walt Disney magic, but because the story is a Walt Disney magic kind of story.
Is a real life Disney story.
Yes. It's crazy. It's crazy. I know we've talked about this before. A lot of people know it, generally speaking, but again, for the non-sports people out there, I cannot begin to emphasize enough how much of an upset that 1980 victory was.
Yeah.
Those kids were 19 years old playing against essentially professionals, and not just professionals from the USSR. Those guys never lost.
Yeah.
They never lost.
That was 4 golds in a row, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
and
it was because that was 76, 72, and the 8 years before that.
And not only that, like a month before, the USSR played the NHL All-Stars. The NHL All-Stars, and they beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
It was like 7-3 or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like dismantled the NHL All-Stars.
Yeah.
And now you have 19-year-olds asking to go beat that team. I mean, just insane story. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly a storybook kind of Disney. You can't script it any better than that kind of thing. So no wonder they turn it into a movie, and it's a really fun movie. Kurt Russell's great. We all love it. It's influential, as I noted. And so Sunday, I could not be on a bigger high. I never really got outside of that 10-year-old shell.
You were just reliving the vibe of Miracle all over again, just in a very different landscape.
I was my oldest is 10 years old, and he might have been older than me on Sunday. I was a kid.
When this same thing happens in another 46 years, your son will be having his own moment like that when he becomes a dad.
And also a fun little fact about the game and how it ties to the film Miracle. And people have been pointing this out on social media, which is really incredible. So there's a moment early on in that film in Miracle where they're going through the tryouts, and one of the names they cross off the list that did not make the squad, his name was Jack Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit serendipitous, given that in 2026, Jack Hughes is not only on the team, but he scores the game-winning goal in the the gold medal game. But here's a little fun fact about that: the Jack Hughes that did not make that 1980 team, he actually played in the NHL. And as I noted, it had been 46 years since they won the gold medal. Brendan, how many games do you think Jack Hughes played in the NHL? The older Jack Hughes.
Oh, I'm going to guess, 2?
46.
I knew it was more than that.
You can't make that shit up. That's just the beauty of sports. That is unreal. That is unbelievable how life works. But I guess maybe that's a good transition to where I was going to go next, because I can't talk about the glory of what happened on Sunday without the severe disappointment of what followed, because Sunday night and into Monday and now Tuesday, what a lot of those players have demonstrated has been nothing short of major disappointment. Mm-hmm. And I guess I don't want to get into it too much, because this is not we've already talked enough about sports.
Yeah.
We're not a political show either, but
I feel like that's the more dangerous rabbit hole we can find ourselves down. But at the same time, you make a great point.
But I can't just completely disregard it, because there's been things that have been happening with that team and our current administration that you can't separate.
Sure.
And it's just been incredibly disappointing to see the behavior of some of those guys. And it's especially disheartening because I know some of them very much love our women's team and very much support them. But our current administration has been saying some, I don't even know how to say it in a nice way, but some pretty demeaning things about the women's team that some of these guys have just laughed at. And then they show up at the White House, and it's been disheartening.
It's unfortunate that you, as a major hockey fan like this, have to relish in this glory of this victory, and then you have to course correct yourself to make sure that those of our listeners listening know the full context of what you're getting at then afterwards. Like the whole postscript with this is just so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate that you have to add this little epilogue to this great story.
Yeah. I mean, and when you're talking about international competition, there's always a level of politics at play. And we've seen this constantly throughout history. I mean, the USSR almost didn't even show up to Lake Placid in 1980 because 4 years prior, when the games were in Russia, we didn't go. The United States weren't there for political reasons. And it almost happened again in 1980, but then they showed up and what happened.
Yeah.
So politics are always going to be part of it. I think what's really disappointing about what's happening now is that they're simply taking this game and using it as a pawn for their own political, maneuverings. I don't think anyone is, disillusioned to the fact that the current administration doesn't really give a shit about hockey. They don't. They're using that as some sort of tool for their own gain. And it's clear as day, it is really, what it is.
And you're at a point now where it's like, whatever we can get to actually popularize the sport just a little bit more, but this could have an adverse effect on it for certain audiences.
Well, and that's been a lot of what I've seen in the discourse is that it's like they built up all this goodwill from Sunday, winning the gold medal, beating Canada for the first time in God knows how many years, winning the gold medal for the first time in 46 years. And then in a day, all of that evaporated. Like all that goodwill completely gone, at least for half the country.
Yeah.
And it's not great. Not great, and it's been real sad for me. I went from like real highs to extremely low lows.
What a tragic ending.
Yeah. So it is like, and I'm doing my best to separate them. In the same sense that some of the best movies ever made are, were directed by the worst humans to walk on this planet. It's a little bit of that where it's like the on ice product could not have been more satisfying. And that's the part that I gravitate toward is the on ice product. But I live in the real world and I'm a human being and I see what they're doing. And I also I can't support that either.
Yeah.
So it's
you can have it both ways. It's
a swing of the pendulum for sure.
We as movie fans can sit here and say Rosemary's Baby is a great movie, but the man who made it, different conversation.
Not great, Bob. And again, that's why I go back to like the game itself was great. The Johnny Gaudreau stuff was incredible. That's why I bring that up because what happened on the ice, it was pure poetry. It was unbelievable. Like it could not be scripted. And then to see that stuff evaporate because of the aftermath of what they've done.
Because of that aftermath, I wonder if a documentary is going to be made about that moment.
Maybe. I'm
and
sure
then eventually
but...
the evil twin spiritual sequel to Miracle will come out.
And I don't know. I wouldn't know how to feel about that. Would not know how to feel about that. Anyway, all that to say, Miracle is a really good movie. I do enjoy it quite a bit. It meant a lot to me in my childhood. I had a great time with the hockey product of it on Sunday with the gold medal game. I mean, one of my favorite sporting moments of maybe my whole lifetime, to be honest. I screamed so loudly, I'm terrifying the kids, because, it's like a visceral, guttural reaction that you have in the moment. And it's why we love sports.